me for what they thought I had done, and that judgment weighed heavier than guilt. In the early days of the breakup, I came to one single realization. I had lost Sunetra. I lost the woman who held my hand when I was no one. I lost the family I had spent half a lifetime building. I lost the trust of my children. I lost myself. And the cruelest part was this. People only cared that I was Mr. Bean. But no one wanted to know who Rowan Atkinson really was. My pain wasn't sensational enough for the media to care. In February 2016, during a press conference for Johnny English Strikes Again, a reporter stood up and asked directly, "Do you consider yourself a homewrecker?" I remember that moment clearly. I held the microphone, my hands shaking. I had to fight not to cry. I wanted to scream, "I didn't betray Sunetra the way you think. I betrayed her in the most painful way, by no longer loving her the way she deserved to be loved." But I couldn't say that in front of 300 people. I just looked down and said, "I'm human, and I made mistakes." That was the most honest thing I ever said to the media. But they cut the second half of the sentence and kept only the headline, "I made mistakes." They wanted me to be the villain. I understood that, and I stopped trying to explain. In June 2016, I decided to pause everything. I stopped taking roles, turned down interviews, and disappeared from the public eye. I hid away in a small house I owned in Devon, a place no one knew about. I woke up every morning not knowing what to do except walk. I walked for miles each day, just to forget the sound of laughter I had spent my life creating, a sound that now pierced me like a knife. Some nights, I didn't sleep at all. I just sat and stared at the sea. Louise would ask me, "What are you thinking about?" How could I tell her I was thinking about another woman? I stayed silent, and she misunderstood completely. By the end of 2016, I realized the consequences of the divorce weren't just in the media. They were in the very relationships I thought were unshakable. Friends began to distance themselves. A few colleagues refused to work with me. A director I had collaborated with for years hinted, "Audiences love a cheerful Mr. Bean, not a controversial Rowan Atkinson." People forgot I was an actor. They expected me to always be the goofy man who made them laugh. When I was in pain, they didn't allow me to feel it. When I made mistakes, they didn't allow me to be forgiven. The breaking point came in January 2017 when the media discovered I had moved in with Louise. The headlines read, "Mr. Bean builds a new home, leaving his old family behind." But I hadn't left anyone behind. I was just trying to start over, even if it was too late. But the media didn't care. They wanted blood. They wanted a story. And the story had to cast me as the most despicable kind of traitor. Meanwhile, Sunetra, a smart and private woman, chose silence. But that silence only made things worse. People saw her as the perfect victim, and me, without trial, as the villain. In 2018, I tried to rewrite my life. I threw myself into my work. I worked harder than ever to fill the hollow inside me. I tried to create joy for others, even though I couldn't find it for myself. Louise became the only person by my side during those years. She was young, loving, understanding. But our relationship always lived under the long shadow of Sunetra. Not a single day passed without me thinking about what I had done. In March 2019, the press came for me one last time, and this blow nearly broke me completely. They ran the headline, "Louise pregnant with Rowan Atkinson's child." They called me irresponsible. They called me selfish. They said I replaced my family like I'd swap out a prop in a film. I didn't respond. I said nothing. But inside, I knew I was entering an entirely new chapter. one where I'd pay the price for everything I had done wrong. And in 2019, for the first time in years, I looked at myself in the mirror. I didn't see Mr. Bean. I didn't see the fame. I only saw a 64-year-old man with eyes so tired he didn't recognize himself. I asked, "Rowan, how did you let it get this far?" But the answer never came. Because the only real answer was, it was too late to fix it. I lost my wife. I lost my family. I lost my reputation. I lost the respect of millions. And the cruelest part is, I lost the best part of myself. In a love story I let fall apart. After 2019, when the media put the final period on the darkest chapter of my life with the news of Louise's pregnancy, I thought I'd be buried forever beneath public scorn. But something strange happened. I began to feel something I hadn't felt in over a decade. Peace. Not because everything was okay, but because I had nothing left to lose. Sometimes when a man loses everything, he finds himself in the ashes. In 2020, when the world came to a halt during the pandemic, I found myself, for the first time in decades, simply at home. No sets, no cameras, no grueling schedules, just the silence of my house, the sound of my own breath, and Louise, the woman who had walked with me through the fiercest storm of my life. That same year, my third daughter was born. People asked if I felt ashamed to become a father at 65. I just smiled. Becoming a father at any age is a miracle, and sometimes that miracle is what saves a soul torn apart. But I won't lie. I know my old family, Sunetra, and our two children, Lily and Ben, still carry wounds that haven't healed. I don't blame them. I don't expect their forgiveness. In 2021, Lily sent me a short message. "I'm okay. Hope you are too." I read that message dozens of times. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't closeness. But it was a slightly open door. A door I didn't dare knock on too hard, for fear it would slam shut again. I replied, "I'm always here, whenever you're ready." And I waited, patiently, without pressure, without expectation, waiting the way a father waits, knowing he once lost more than he can ever make up for. My career took a strange turn, too. People thought I'd vanish after the scandals. But in 2022, Netflix approached me with a role in Man vs. Bee. They called me an enduring icon of British comedy, a compliment that caught in my throat. I didn't feel worthy of it, but I accepted the role, not to chase fame again, but because I needed to know. Could I still make people laugh after nearly a decade of not being able to smile myself? When the show was released, I received thousands of messages from viewers all over the world. One message made me cry. "You made me laugh during the hardest time of my life. Thank you, Mr. Bean." I read that line over and over, and I realized maybe my light hadn't gone out. Maybe my career wasn't over. Maybe the definition of value changes with time. When I was young, I made people laugh with Mr. Bean's silliness. At 70, I make people smile simply by existing. Proof that even when you mess up, you can still get back up again. But my life now isn't picture perfect. From 2022 to 2024, I've lived between two worlds. One filled with Louise and our young child, laughter, hope, and peaceful mornings, and another buried deep inside my chest. A world of memories with Sunetra, with our two grown children, with the years I destroyed through my own carelessness. I don't regret loving Louise, but I do regret letting my first marriage fall apart in such a painful way. If you asked me, if you could go back, would you do things differently? I'd say, I wouldn't let my career erode my love. I wouldn't let the world's laughter be louder than my wife's tears. I wouldn't become a stranger in my own home. In 2023, Sunetra and I had a brief meeting, not to get back together, not to rehash old wounds, just to look into each other's eyes as two people who had once loved each other for nearly 30 years. She was calm, wiser, beautiful in a way only someone who's endured pain and risen from it can be. I apologized. No poetry, no long speeches, just one sentence. I'm sorry I wasn't the man you deserved. She nodded. No forgiveness, no blame, just a nod, as if to close a chapter that had dragged on too long. As for me, at 70, I've slowed down. I spend more time with my youngest child, cooking, gardening, reading. I rarely attend big events. I'm no longer trying to make the whole world laugh. I just want to make the people I love smile. Louise, my new family, Lily and Ben, when they need me, even if it's just through a message. And myself, a man who had to relearn how to breathe after years of chaos. The strangest part of looking back on my entire life is that I don't see a brilliant career or iconic performances. I see one thing: family, the thing I once lost and now must protect at all costs. I'm not a hero. I'm not a flawless icon. I'm just a man who got it wrong and is trying to get it right one more time. When you're 70, you realize the spotlight doesn't matter. The money doesn't matter. The fame doesn't matter. The only thing that lets a man sleep at night is knowing he's finally become the person he always meant to be. I'm not perfect. I still carry wounds that haven't healed. But for the first time in decades, I feel like I'm alive. Not running, not hiding, not performing, just living. And maybe that's the greatest miracle of this final chapter of my life. If you've read this far, maybe you felt what I once felt too. No marriage breaks in an instant. It breaks in the quiet moments we convince ourselves it's fine. So now I want to ask you, not as a performer, but as someone who's walked through the hell of a broken marriage, do you think I deserve forgiveness after 10 years of trying to make things right? Please write yes or no